Let's get stuck into this Saturday night blockbuster game that was between Geelong and the Bulldogs at Adelaide Oval. Geelong prevailed as eventual winners, only winning by the smallest of margins. I think maybe the scoreline was cushioned a little bit and made it a bit more prettier for the Bulldogs. I think if it wasn't for Liam Jones' heroic intercept plays throughout the game and massive contested clearance efforts from players like the Bont and Libba, I think this game could have been a little bit more harsher on the Bulldogs team. Let's get into the first play that I want to talk about. It's a ruck play here, and we've got, I think that's Blitzarves on a younger Darcy, so a little bit inexperienced. And then we got Graham Myers, who's actually quite free here on the goal side of Geelong's field. And I think this is Gallagher for the Bulldogs, who should probably be man tight onto Graham Myers there, seeing as this is probably a player you want to keep an eye on in the stoppage, and we'll see how this play pans out. It actually gets fed out to Myers with some good work from Blitzarves in the middle, and eventually Geelong just find its way, and they get a nice opportunistic goal crumbing in their forward 50. But like I said, that doesn't happen if Graham Myers doesn't find himself alone on the outside of the contest on the wing, where Harvey Gallagher, a young and experienced player, is probably just a little bit off there, and we'll definitely look into that and we'll learn to ensure that that doesn't happen again in his future. So as I pointed out, that first goal was probably namely to do with a lack of experience on Harvey Gallagher's end, and this is much the same for the Bulldogs forward line, and I'll point it out moment by moment. But what we're going to see here is Duncan is going to find Stewart here, and then straight away Duncan is looking for this handball receive on the boundary side on his right foot, but he actually, in retrospect, we'll see on the replay, he ends up going inside the corridor and sort of feigns both the Bulldogs forwards in. I think that was Riley West and Waitman, and now we've got Libbo, who's sort of caught in no man's land. He sort of pushed up here a little bit and then found his opposition actually just here, finding an opportunity to get into this corridor. And then just keep an eye on Ugle-Hagan here. He sort of daydreams a little bit, and then Guthrie takes the opportunity and sees that and actually gets this play going really well. So he's on his bike now. Ugle-Hagan's a couple seconds off the mark. Guthrie keeps going. Libba's been passed on to him. Libba sort of switches off again. Guthrie is still open, and he gets his handball receive here and kicks that goal. Now, it's fine margins. It's all like these little, you go this way, I go that way. I'm switched on a little bit quicker than you are in this moment, and that's the difference in the end for games like this in the AFL, where they're decided by less than a goal. These moments mean everything, and you could see the inexperience from the Western Bulldogs forward line there, from players like Waitman, West, Ugle-Hagan. You just need to be a little bit more switched on when you get outwitted by players like Duncan and Guthrie, who was attentive to the play and was trying to figure out how he could impact the play, whereas Ugle-Hagan was more ball watching and not worrying about how he could impact the play from a defensive standpoint. So we'll just watch this back live. We can see here, Libba's sort of caught in no man's land, as I said, peels off in the middle, Geelong player. Guthrie gets the handball receive, follows up his initial kick. And what you see here as well in the background is the Geelong attackers pushing hard back to open up some space for their midfielders in this section here to allow the next sequence to sort of eventuate there. So that doesn't happen with the Geelong without the Geelong forwards pushing hard back and getting on their bike. This next play is just more inexperience from some of the young Bulldogs players. This time it is Riley Sanders. Feeds it out to Treloar. Treloar's under the pump. Kicks it out. It's insufficient intent. And then we've got Duncan, who is quick to get this ball from the insufficient intent. And you want him getting the ball and being the distributor going inside 50. Once again, this is Gallagher, who switches off for half a second. He's mindful that he wants to guard the inside pass, but I think the most important thing right now is to get in front of Duncan, because what ends up happening is Duncan takes this ball unguarded and gets an easy run going inside 50. And when you're under no duress and your name is Mitch Duncan, this is what's going to happen. Just an easy kick going inside 50. The other thing here is we see Riley Sanders being a gentleman, helping up Adam Treloar. But in that process, 3-4 seconds later, Sanders is still walking and his man ends up taking the direct mark. So not necessarily worrying about what's happening in the game. These are the moments that matter. Like I said, really inexperienced moments from young Bulldogs players. So a strong learning curve for them. And this is the difference between a Geelong side who are now 4-0 and Bulldogs who are 2-2 this season. One of the narratives for the game was Bulldogs' inability to really break down Geelong's forward half press, and Bulldogs were forced to go long down the line many times against the likes of Tom Stewart. So if you're a team that's versing Geelong and you're kicking into Stewart's vicinity more often than not, then you're definitely doing something wrong and you're probably going to lose the game if that's the way you're going to play. So we can just see active hands, people pointing fingers, they're all over it. This is covered really well here and here. So that first pass is denied. Ed Richards has no time left, has to go. He's looking for something. In a moment, he'll have this pass for half a second, but that's a really difficult pass to kick across your body. But it just goes to show how well Geelong defended these moments in the game. So I think it's probably here where he has this option here. I think that might be Bailey Dale, but nevertheless, it goes long. The ball's in dispute here. Bulldogs have it for half a moment. Good pressure by Atkins. Latham doesn't take the ball. DeConey does really well to lower the eyes there. Myers sends it in. Not his best kick. Stanley or Blitzups does really well there. Karmas doesn't stick that tackle. That was another focal point that I observed throughout the game was Bulldogs' inability to stick their tackles and Geelong just able to break their tackles. So it's a bit of both from both ends. And then that really helped Geelong get the plays that they were after because they're able to break initial tackles. And then Brad Close kicks that goal after a poorly stuck tackle. This is just really a minute of hell for the Bulldogs where they're unable to get the ball out of their defensive half. Geelong do really well to block any short passes and they set up well for that long kick down the wing or wherever it may be. So Cameron goes in, Jones battling, just gets kicked to the hot spot, intercept mark. Now let's see, can Bulldogs get out? All right, they've got their first kick. Nothing really doing. Maybe we switch it. Daniel's pushing back to get some space. Probably sees here that there's nothing really going on around here and here. So he makes this late decision to try go this way, but that's intercepted by the man on the mark. Some really good work there. And very unfortunate for Geelong not to be rewarded here with the goal. This is right after that miss behind. What do we see? More pressure, long down the line again. Guthrie drops what he probably should have taken, but it still comes back with interest, and I think Geelong get a stoppage play here. So just a full minute of forward half pressure on the Bulldogs defense, and across the game that does stack up and ends up fatiguing you, and that's where Geelong get a bit of a run towards the end of the game because of the pressure that their structure and zone was able to put on the Bulldogs early in this third quarter. As I mentioned just then, Bulldogs had to absorb an immense amount of pressure by Geelong in their defensive half, and now it's an opportunity for Geelong to get on their legs while the Bulldogs are cooked from those defensive efforts they just had. So we see here, Myers kicks this ball, and I want you to keep an eye on his direct man, who is Duray, and then obviously this is Brian Myers here. And look at him get on his bike for this play. Also keep an eye on Duncan, old man Dunks. He's right next to Sanders and Daniel. So surely he should be tracked, right? They go outside. Stanley, look at this. Look at that. Duncan just working his ass off. And we got players like, that's not Sanders anymore. That might be Waitman. But Daniel, who are just absolutely cooked. Now I'll just bring it back for a moment so I can show you where Myers is. He is here. Still behind everybody, busting his ass, running harder than most. Gets this overlapping hand pass. There's some really good forward craft from three forwards as well. Henry leading up to the ball. While that was an incredible run by Myers, I also want to show some forward craft here and the synergy between the three forwards in this case. So Geelong in this moment are holding their runs for the moment, waiting for the right time to start their leading patterns. First things first, we've got Stengel heading into the corridor where there's plenty of space for this to be accessed. And then we've got Cameron, who's obviously leading out to the boundary, and then Henry's just waiting to see where this goes, and then he'll make his decision in just a moment. We'll see here. So he's noticed now that, yeah, okay, cool, Stengel, you're going there. Let me take advantage of this space being opened and lead up to Grindmeyers, who's a great kick going inside 50. There it is. And then even Cameron makes a second lead. He's going back here in case it was a long kick on the top of the goal square, but not to be. It was a great find by Myers, and they end up finding that inside 50 pass. Here, Bulldogs just not able to get out of their back half again. We can see Blitzov here. He's got eyes on this player here because he's starting to find that space at the back, and I think Liam Jones does see that. The Geelong forward defender does well to go half and half, but this kick still has a chance to get over the back because of all the space that is left back here. It goes long, but look at Blitzov's busting his guts, gets over, forces a boundary throw-in. It was great work for Blitzov to identify that early because that could have been an easy out for the Bulldogs. Now this is an end-to-end play for Geelong. There's nothing pretty that occurs in this segment, but the difference is between Geelong and the Bulldogs was Geelong were able to make quick decisions. So from the kick in, Guthrie decides to go early to a mismatch on the left side, finds Cameron on Oscar Baker, complete mismatch. Cameron does well to protect the drop spot and earns a free kick. Cameron's looking inside for a short pass to open up some angles. Guthrie gets the ball again. And it's nothing pretty. Guthrie pushes off his man. He finds Hawkins presenting well down the line. Hawkins wins his 1-on-1 with Liam Jones. Hack ball down into the forward 50. And it's just a great double effort by Stengel. Picks it up and finishes well. So Geelong were able to do it pretty. There were moments where they're able to find the inside 45 pass into the midfield and open up the corridor to give angles going inside 50. This one was just really simple. Early decisions from the kick in, winning your 1-on-1s, and then hacking the ball into dangerous positions in the forward where you got players like Tyson Stengel who are finding their All-Australian form once again. We're going to see a centre clearance goal here from Geelong where they scored 4 goals from that source in this game, and they lead the league for that stat. So even though Bont had great dominance and Libba had his dominance, they weren't able to capitalise in a scores from centre bounce clearances standpoint, whereas Geelong, their young midfielders in Bruin, Parfitt, Clark, Atkins were able to do a job from the middle and actually have immediate impact from those plays. So we see here, the ball goes in, it's sort of hacked forward. You rely on players like Stengel to have an impact, knock the ball forward, little tap-ons, and then just immediate pressure, giving Baileydale no time to breathe. Stengel kicks another goal back to back. Liam Jones with another intercept mark here. I think we're going to look for a switch for the Doggies. Jones gets it across, keeps it low enough to get the ball in time for Baker. Now, ironically, the Bulldogs switch the ball, and usually the intention when you switch the ball is to create holes pretty much anywhere in here. But you can see in this square where the Doggies are meant to transition and get over to the ball side, we've already got 1, 2, 3, 4 Geelong players to Bulldogs 1 in this corridor. So what this points to is probably fatigue, as I've mentioned throughout the video, and a lack of urgency by the Dogs midfielders to get across and help out Baker here. But in the end, has absolutely nothing on shore and feeds the ball into Tom Stewart, the guy who you don't want to be near the ball in these sort of situations. Just good handball work by the Geelong players and a quality kick going inside 50 once again by Myers finding Jeremy Cameron. We're going to see who wants it more out of the Doggies and the Cats right now. Duncan's clean, feeds it out for a rebound 50 for the Cats. And then we look here, Dempsey's on the ball, and we've got a huge amount of Doggies players sort of just trotting along. And the difference is we've got these players ready to get on their bike and get forward. Look, just obviously it's easier to run forward than it is going back. But in moments where it's early in the fourth quarter and the game is up for grabs, I think we've just got to see a little bit more desire from the Bulldogs midfield here. And then let's just keep an eye on Cameron here, who's been running up and down all game long, just on his bike, sprinting, full pelt. and hits up Henry like it's nothing. So that's just quality by Cameron. I think he had 27 disposals, 2 goals and 4 behind. So, a forward like that will definitely notch up a lot of Brownlow votes this year. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't get the 3 votes for this game. In the end, Geelong hold on to what was a late push by the Bulldogs. They found a second wind after all that pressure that they had to absorb in their defensive half. Geelong were outstanding in their forward half on the other hand, kicking 4 goals from that source and simultaneously taking away one of Bulldogs' cornerstones of their game this season in their transition from the defensive half to the forward half. And Geelong from their defensive half are able to kick 4 goals from defensive half transitions as well as 2 goals directly from kick-ins. Along with all of that, Geelong kicked 4 goals from their centre bounce clearances. So when you tie those score sources in, it was just too much for the Bulldogs to take on. And that right now is the difference between Geelong and Bulldogs team. It was sort of a similar pressure applied from Geelong that the Tigers were able to apply to Sydney last week at the G. So if you want to see how that all panned out, consider watching this video. We'll see you guys next time.